Our final talk of the session will be Ben Greenhagen giving a brief update on the CLOC SAT activity.
All right, yes, thanks, Sam. So yeah, I'm going to talk about the continuous lunar orbital capabilities, specific action team, CLOC SAT, and this is a league requested SAT on behalf of the lunar community. Next slide. Right, so one of the early questions, that we often hear is, what happens after LRO's mission ends? And this is a really easy question to get stuck on because LRO has been in orbit for so long and has returned so much incredible information about the lunar surface. But it's important to keep in mind a few things. First, NASA will continue to have a presence in lunar orbit for the foreseeable future. It just extended LRO for its 5th extended science mission. And also Artemis, all capital Artemis, is in lunar orbit as we speak. In the very near future, we expect additional orbital assets to go to the moon, including Capstone and Artemis 1 this summer, followed by Lunar Flashlight and Lunar Trailblazer a little bit after that. And on the human supporting side, there's Gateway and Orion will be joining eventually as well. It's also important to keep in mind that there are science questions that remain to be answered that can best be achieved for lunar orbit. And a really great example of this is the fact that there were multiple discovery proposals put in the last round that used lunar orbiters. So they're accomplishing discovery level science. Orbital capabilities are integral to supporting surface operations, and any surface operations will be significantly limited if we don't have those capabilities. And finally, if you start thinking a little bit out of the box, intentionally long duration orbital capabilities, LRO is unintentionally long duration, but if you have an intentional long duration orbital capability, that can actually open up new types of science, including monitoring the lunar surface and environment. So the better question, and the question we're trying to address with this SAT, is what is the integrated strategy for lunar orbital capabilities? Next slide. Next slide. So this has been on the community's mind for quite a while. There have been findings at the last 2 league meetings, both the 2020 meeting and the 2021 meeting, that supported developing a long-term strategy for identifying and addressing what the needs are for lunar remote sensing capabilities. And this is also supported by findings in recent league organized SATs on behalf of NASA, including the LCDP we just heard about from Julia and some previous ones as well. All of the league meeting findings and SAT reports can be found on the league website. Next slide. And the report itself is what is desired by league is written in terms of reference that's been provided to us. In particular, we want to look at the why, what, and how it is and what's needed in terms of these orbital capabilities. So that's what are the objectives for both science and exploration, what are the measurements and investigations that need to be achieved, and how are they done? What are the architectures? What are the different orbiter requirements and orbit requirements? And so in order to do this, we're going to identify specific areas of focus, including identifying top investigations, which capabilities are really needed for surface operations, and which things cross-cut different mission directorates, and then also what are new measurements, not just brand new measurements, but what are evolutions of previous measurements that have been done in lunar orbit that we can do better now. Next slide. And because this was a league requested SAT, we wanted to involve the community as much as possible. So we kicked this off in February with a community kickoff. This was a 2.5-hour workshop where we presented the scope of the SAT. We got invited community topical perspectives from 4 luminaries in lunar remote sensing. And we had breakout sessions where we talked with the community about what we can do. We had an open call for membership in the SAT. I'll show the team in just a minute. And we also had an open call for white papers, which I'll talk about in a minute. So most of the SAT activities so far have been organizational and figuring out what information we have and what additional information we need. Next slide. So this is the team. The co-chairs are myself and Carle Pieters. Early on, we identified core leads for the why, what, and how areas: Mark Robinson, Julie Stopar, and John Keller. We did this community call to add 5 additional members: Tim Glauch, Lauren Joswiak, James Keene, Paul Lucy, and Angela Stickle. And we are supported by the League Executive Committee through the chairs of the relevant areas. Next slide. We had a very nice response to our call for white papers. We had 14 submissions, and they cover all different aspects of those objectives, specific types of measurements and instruments, and also different architectures. So we're really pleased, and we're going through the details there. Next slide. And then this is my final slide. So the area where we're at right now is we're finding out where we need a little bit additional information. So we will be reaching out to specific members of the community to come and talk to the SAT. And we'll be developing the integrated strategy and recommendations from these inputs and giving a draft report to the League Executive Committee by mid-July. And it was mentioned earlier, we are planning on presenting our preliminary findings at the Exploration Science Forum in Boulder in July. And then a final draft report will be presented at the League annual meeting, followed closely by the delivery of the final report to League and NASA. And that's the CLOC SAT. Thank you very much.
Okay, well, thanks, Ben, for the update there on continuous lunar orbiter capability set.